Hello, welcome. I'm Alicia Douglas, CEO and founder of the Water Rising Institute. This is the second of two Water Woman table conversations at WEFTech, hosted by the Water Woman Project, a new program of Water Rising Institute that increases gender parity and inclusive decision-making in water management to accelerate progress toward the Sustainable Development Goals 5, 6, and 14 by 2030. Water Rising's approach to equity and justice in water management is focused on striving for gender parity, which for Water Rising Institute means striving for equal access to job opportunities and advancement for women and non-binary across race, identity, age, ability, and background. We are here today with my two sisters, Yvonne Forrest, Director of Houston Water, Keisha Powell, Chief Operating Officer at DC Water, and my brother, Tony, Executive Director of Louisville and Jefferson County Metropolitan Sewer District. To dive in with these water leaders on the importance of workforce gender parity for water resiliency. Let's start with Yvonne, and then we're going to go to Keisha, and then we're going to go to Tony. So Yvonne, can you please tell me on how does the Houston Water and Sewer define gender parity within its organization?
So I can tell you at Houston Water and in the city of Houston, we recently passed an ordinance that allows for parental leave. And so it does not count against your sick leave, it does not count against your vacation. There's 12 weeks for either parent to take time off to bond with a child. And so that was a major initiative.
It is a major initiative because unfortunately, we're not achieving that in all.
And it was brought forth by some young women leaders in our city council, seeing it as a need, citywide, government-wide.
Thank you for that. Keisha?
So at DC Water, our Chief People and Inclusion Officer, in other places might be the Chief of Human Resources, but very intentional about talking about inclusion. She's been very focused on many initiatives across the authority to ensure that there is gender parity, that we're uplifting everyone, but in particular women. We also passed such a measure to make sure that there was paid parental leave. We have in our new strategic plan an imperative around equity as well.
Keisha, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Tony?
Yeah, likewise, just like Houston and DC, we have last year passed the policy that would allow for 12 weeks of paid parental leave. And it means a lot, not only for, young parents, but it means a lot to the employees overall that they can take care of their family and not be penalized for their leave or sick leave. As part of our strategic plan, our mission is to be an employer of purpose and an employee to support employees. And one of the things that I think we're most proud of, particularly if you look at our senior leadership team and our board, there's gender parity throughout the executive leadership team and on our board. And so the policies that we bring forth are supported and really promoted by the female representation in our leadership and in our board.
So I've got a question for for all of you, really, and maybe we'll also start. We'll let Tony answer this question first. But during the pandemic, it has been challenging from a workforce development. We've seen a lot of people leave. How are you holding up on that right now over at Louisville?
Well, you know, as an essential service, our employees have been through hell and back because we have to show up 24/7. And one of the things that we do know is that it's changed the way we do business. It's changed the way we have to treat our employees and being more compassionate with their needs and to focus on if folks are struggling, trying to figure out, is there a better way to provide access to the help or the wellness that they need to take care of themselves? And one of the things that we've done recently, in addition to our standard employee assistance program, is to look at better ways through technology or apps that are particularly our field employees or operations employees can access the mental wellness that they need, because a lot of folks are shy about coming forth and saying, I need help. So this gives them an opportunity to do this more individually.
At DC Water, like I think every utility that had to continue serving, even, in the most extreme of circumstances where it is a danger to be close, but that is the nature of most of our work, especially boots on the ground. We were fortunately able to, for those that could telework, transition folks to telework. And through the pandemic period, I think we saw our value systems change, or at least the values that we have. I think we saw them amplified, especially women who had to make hard choices about whether or not they would continue in the workforce or if they would take care of their families, be the stay-at-home teacher. Those trade-offs and decisions had to be made, but I think the pandemic helped to accelerate the use of technology in the water sector, which is a good thing. But certainly the way we work in this sector, I think, has changed forever. And what we are moving to, what we understand is now we have to have a certain level of flexibility in order to maintain a workforce for the future. But we have to find a balance there because I think most of the resources that we have in any utility are our boots on the ground who have to come to work every single day. And we want to make sure that there is even equity in that. But certainly where women are concerned, I think that level of flexibility for some will provide opportunities for them to have a career path of their own choosing and design.
Thank you for that.
So in Houston Water, which is part of Houston Public Works, I think we found it very isolating during the pandemic. And one way you can reach the people that normally work in the office or telework is email. But you do tailgates with people on the front lines. I mean, everyone has access to email, but we had to find ways to humanize and make those connections and, celebrate the events we would normally celebrate together and mourn losses the way that you would normally mourn without gathering. And so those were challenging, and it forced a technical person, I'm an engineer by degree, to show that human side and to let them know when I was struggling so they knew it was okay, And I think that is one of the things you will get with different perspectives in the workplace, a woman in the workplace, minorities in the workplace. Things are not the same. We don't react the same. Everyone has a different perspective on how they approach things. And so I think you see that the way people reacted to their team's needs during the pandemic.
That brings in a very good part of exactly with what we're talking about here with the Water Woman table. And when we speak on the entire water sector, that also includes boards and drain commissions. Based on your leadership, what role do you feel that gender parity needs to play at that level within your organization? Keisha?
It plays a major role. because if you don't see it in every part of the organization, it's difficult to make sure that that mindset proliferates through an organization if you don't see that at the board level, at the senior executive team level, at the leadership team level, and then everywhere through the organization. That diversity of thought is extremely important, especially as we talk about the issues of the day. Understanding that we are pursuing greater understanding and operationalizing equity and environmental justice, or achieving environmental justice, we have to understand the injustices and the unfairnesses, and that really starts within our organization. We can't achieve those things if we don't live those things ourselves. So that I think it's very critical.
Thank you for sharing that. Tony, you want to?
No, you know, as I said earlier, we're very fortunate that we have that leadership that is representative of, you know, strong female leadership on our board. We have an 8-member board, and half of them are female.
Oh, that's amazing.
And there are 3 of those are African American leaders, so we're very proud of that. And then in our executive leadership team,
Incredible.
if you look at our governance and our structure, we have a lot of women at the table, and there's a reason for that. We've been intentional to make sure that we could change the trend in this water industry for the past 50 years. It's been dominated by white males. Mm-hmm. And as we have seen a lot of retirement, a lot of silver tsunami, we've been intentional to make sure we reach out and we recruit more females for leadership positions. And I can tell you that women are more visionary, they're more compassionate, and they're more loyal. And so that's the type of leadership that I want in my organization.
Thank you.
You know, yeah, Tony, thank you. Thank you. I mean, because you know what? If we set the bar there, anything, right? We all need to be serving that as that example.
That is correct.
So, thank you for Louisville taking that lead for us here and setting it. So thank you. Yvonne, what's your thoughts?
So, you know, to not be redundant, but it was the women on our city council, we have 16 city council members, that brought forth a study and the policy that now we have the paid parental leave. So it just shows that you do need that diversity of thought because, you know, that's an issue that was important to them, and they were able to voice it and make things happen at city council level, so it's available to all city employees. And then in our department, our director's a woman, and she's the first female director of a large public works department in the over 180-year history of the city of Houston. And so we celebrate that, but she has been purposeful about bringing together a diverse team of women and African Americans and other minorities, so that when we have executive team members, we're all bringing ideas forward. I represent a very large frontline organization where someone else may have mostly technical people or financial people. And it's not just the type of work you do, but when you talk about people who can telework and who can't telework, you can't fix the things that happen in the street from home, right, where you can work on spreadsheets and reports and designs from home. And the people that fix the things in the street don't always look like the people who sit in the office. And so you have to keep that idea and those things in front of you. You have to think about these people. And I think it's the diversity around the leadership table that keeps that top of mind, that doesn't brush it off.
Right. So if you could have a message to other leaders within the utilities, as well as water boards and drain commissions, what are some of the things that you personally would like to say? Because we're in this together. This is a together moment.
I would like to start by saying, you know, utilities are anchor institutions for the community, and you have to reflect the community and be able to listen to that community. So if you have people in the utility or in boards and commissions, providing a service to a community that doesn't reflect the community, you're missing a major opportunity.
You know, in our industry, there's been a lot of talk about utility of the future. And, you know, whether you're talking about it from an innovation standpoint or for that future workforce that we're going to have to engage with, that's all important. But we can't lose focus on what does it take to be a utility of today? And the utility of today means that we have to be more inclusionary. We need to be more compassionate. We need to be more aware of what our internal employees need and what our community needs. And gender parity is right up there with pay equity, with everything else that we as a utility have to deal with. And that's one thing that we have to do. The other thing I'll say is that to be an effective leader, you have to have no fear. You have to be intentional. You can set goals and you can write it down and talk about it, but at some point you got to have action, and that's what I think is needed at this point.
Yeah. Very well said by my colleagues. I don't know that there's very much more that I could add, but I'll say that we all have core values and for our organizations, and I think they are very similar if worded different. But the intention is, making sure that we are displaying the kinds of behaviors that we need to see throughout our organization at all times, and making sure that our communities see that reflected in the work that we do. Being mindful of why we have the roles that we have, it is to serve. And I always talk about living a life of consequence, giving of myself to serve the greater good. And I think each of us as leaders are focused on that piece. And everything else will fall in place. But it does take intention. We talked earlier about being purpose-driven, and that's why we find ourselves in this place. This is great work that we do. We are all stewards of the world's most precious resource. And so with that comes a lot of weight, a lot of responsibility, but I think we're all up for the challenge.
You know, and that, I'm going to finalize this one last question to your point, is that we are dealing with the silver tsunami and the great resignation, and we have some challenges from a workforce development and recruitment perspective. If you could say, like, one, and versus if you were just talk to your younger self now with this industry, what would you say to that younger self, and where are some of those also challenges and barriers that we can continue to learn from, but we going forward to build a strong, equitable, and inclusive and diverse workforce?
I think that the work we do in the utilities serves a purpose and fulfills a passion. And if you're just looking for a paycheck, this isn't the place to be. But if you really want to serve your community, you can find that inside a utility.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
You know, and to my young self and to all the new generation workforce out there, a career path in water is something that is so rewarding. It's something that you can not only, you not only benefit from personally, but you can benefit, the community benefits for everything that you do. And if you want a career path that is going to allow you to give back, the water industry is the industry to be involved with. The one thing that I would say to that future generation workforce is be patient, be confident, and never, ever let no stop you from achieving what you want to achieve.
Yeah. We talked yesterday in our workshop about this being water's moment, and we are all trying to make sure that it is one very long moment, very sustainable moment, hours and days. And I think that is the case for so many reasons because things are aligning. This career chose me, and someone said that earlier, but it's very true because I wanted to be an interior designer, and somehow I ended up making my way into the water space. And I have to say that it has been a tremendous blessing for me personally, but I've also had an opportunity to be impactful in the communities that I have served in. And to see the mark left in a real way, things that people may not ever notice or that people may not ever really care about, some things that are out of sight and out of mind, but it has made all the difference in someone's quality of life. The work that I've been able to do, the work that my colleagues have been able to do, the work that my teams have been able to do, it matters. And it will be here. We built infrastructure to last for 75 to 100 years. There are not many careers that can say that they have that sustainable imprint on our communities and our planet. So, as Yvonne said, this is not a get-rich-quick career path, but it is for those that choose passion and purpose.
I think that's beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us today at the Water Woman table here at WEFTech. You are incredible leaders and really the example that needs to be shared with others. And how do we achieve, and you really brought your authentic selves here. Thank you.
Thank you.
you.